Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming to our first webinar of the year. We're so excited to be here. This was going to be yesterday on Monday after Super Bowl, but someone on our marketing team was wise enough to move it today, so we all have recovered from an excellent Super Bowl. So let's get started. We're going to talk about enterprise restaurant tech for 2024, and we'll talk about how innovation is playing a wonderful and key role if we are to succeed and continue to go ahead and find our margins. With that being said, let's go to the next slide and do a quick recap of everything we'll go over. We'll talk about the biggest trends in tech. We'll talk about vendor consolidation, drive-through, and so much more. But more importantly, I really wanted to go ahead and take some time and introduce our incredible panelists. We'll go from left to right. They don't need any intros, but for the few people living under a rock, let's go ahead and do some quick intros, starting with you, Geoff.
Hi, thank you for having me. I appreciate being here. My name is Geoff Alexander. I'm the president and CEO of Wow Bao. We're a quick serve, fast casual Asian brand in Chicago that also works in the virtual restaurant space, consumer packaged goods in grocery stores, hot food vending machines, airports, and other non-traditional.
Geoff, thank you so much. Next, Carissa.
Hi, y'all. Carissa De Stantis. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Brix Holdings. We have a portfolio of restaurant brands, to name a few: Friendly's Ice Cream, Orange Leaf Frozen Yogurt, Red Mango, Smoothie Factory Plus Kitchen, just launched Pizza Jukebox this last year, and we're always on the hunt to acquire new brands.
And you have 3 horses. We practiced.
And I have
this.
3 horses. I'm sorry, I forgot to announce that. Yes, 3
it's
horses.
All right. This is why we need a moderator. This is the only reason we need a moderator. Nick, with you next, bring perspective from the tech lens and geofencing lens.
Yeah, hey everyone. Thanks, Nabil. My name is Nick Patrick. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Radar. Radar is the all-in-one location platform. So we power geofencing and maps use cases for a number of different restaurant brands: Panera, Whataburger, Dairy Queen, Culver's. Many more. We also work with a lot of brands outside of the restaurant space, like Dick's Sporting Goods and T-Mobile and Zillow. And yeah, really excited to be here. I do not have any horses. I do have a cat and 2 young kids, though, so maybe less.
Appreciate that, Nick. Thank you. Geoff, any horses on your end? I feel like this is a good round-robin question.
No, just a lot of horsepower.
A lot of horsepower. Okay, cool. All right, thank you. So with that being said, let's go to the next slide. By the way, my name is Nabil. If I forgot to completely introduce myself, co-founder and CEO of Lunchbox. And the reason we put this panel together with this amazing 3 people is because they're really pushing this conversation forward in terms of how can an enterprise brand go ahead and innovate and at scale, right? What Nick is doing at Taco Bell is incredible. We'll touch on that. What Geoff has been doing for Wow Bao from the very beginning to even today, taking Wow Bao to CPG, including launching NFT. We'll touch on that. Brix, you guys have something very fascinating happening. You have some really cool brands that have robots in the kitchen, and some brands that are a little bit more legacy brands, if you will, that needs a little bit of a facelift. And we'll talk about that challenge as well. Obviously, Lunchbox, our perspective in a order management system and everything we're doing in catering. So with that being said, let's get started with our panel and with some questions on the next slide. Alrighty. Wait, why innovation is crucial? I feel like we should get started with this first. Geoff, first question for you, sir. I see you're pushing the envelope every single week. Whenever we're looking at LinkedIn, 600 plus locations live, but you've been innovating from the very beginning. Whether it is the model itself, taking it to Ghost Kitchen and CPG, or also, how early you were with loyalty as a brand. What is your perspective on why your brand needs to innovate and be ahead of the curve?
Thank you for the question. And what we always think about is innovation, evolution is just part of the business. And if you're not evolving and if you're not finding new ways to grow the business and grow what you're doing, you're not moving forward. And so it's always been part of our DNA about looking forward and what to do next. We're early adopters of technology. We used self-ordering kiosks back in 2010 when you can only use them in ATMs at the airlines or movie theaters. Now it's almost commonplace to see self-ordering kiosks. We had mobile and desktop ordering back in 2010. Again, that seems sort of silly because it's everywhere now, but it wasn't back then. And we adopted social media in the early days. And then in 2017, we had a fully automated front of the house restaurant with no people that you would actually interact with. There was only one cook in the kitchen. And then when the pandemic hit, we had a pivot in what we were doing, and we started selling our food to other restaurants out there backdoor third-party delivery. And now we have over 700 locations between the US and Canada doing a dark kitchen for us. We got involved in hot food vending machines, and now we're really focused on our consumer packaged goods and our food service model. And it's just an important step in always finding a way to grow your business. You know, we've all been in enough restaurants or visited them where they seem to be doing the same thing that they were doing 20 years ago. And that has a great comfort feel to us, and that feels like home. But the business itself has to find ways behind the scenes and in front of the guest to give consumers a reason to keep coming back and to make the bottom line grow.
Geoff, I love that. And I love like how early you guys have been timing. Again, we'll talk about some of the risk later on. So excited to touch on that later. Carissa, question for you. You guys just recently, acquired Friendly's. And you and I were talking about it, how that's a legacy brand, and would love to hear your point of view on what was it like inheriting such a long-standing and an incredible brand at that.
It was a fantastic opportunity for us to be able to acquire that brand. I don't think there's a meeting or a conference or dinner or any event that I go to where I don't meet somebody that has like that treasured childhood remembrance of when they used to go to Friendly's after softball games or their first date or their first job. So just to be able to be part of a brand that has that type of legacy, we're almost 90 years old. So definitely really awesome in that aspect. But then on the other side of the coin, I inherited a lot of really old technology. So that was definitely a challenge that we had to tackle sooner than later because of the state at which their technology stack was when we acquired.
Love that. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the more innovative brands you have in your portfolio shortly. Let's go to the next slide. What we wanted to do was just share some, and please take screenshots, grab it. But we wanted to share some important data on a recap of 2023, right? I'll read two of the stats here that were super fascinating for me. First one was 65% of customers prefer kiosks to ordering in person. That was a big push in 2023. And then the other fun fact from last year, 89% of operators use some form of AI in their restaurant, right? Question for you, Carissa. You guys are using some cameras in some of your restaurants. Can you tell us how you're using them?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when we looked at the new technology around cameras and just the analytics and the learnings that you can get for them, it kind of timed perfectly with some refreshing that we were doing across a couple of the brands. So it allowed us to, normally you go in and you build a new restaurant model, you build a new design, how you want the flow to work, where everything is going to go, all the kitchen equipment in the front of the house, all of that. But then as you get going, I think Geoff kind of mentioned it, the restaurateurs just feel a way that they feel about the business. And so you don't have any real data to see if that model is working. And it's just, what I like versus what you like or what, the customers like. And so for us to be able to use that technology to see, where are the customers that are coming in dwelling? Is the flow that we designed operating efficiently? Are there any gaps in the kitchen area or the front, any of that kind of stuff? Like we've been able to acquire a lot of information on that, and so it helps us to be able to say, yes, this is the right model moving forward, or no, we need to tweak efficiencies here in the kitchen because we keep getting bottlenecks here or what have you. And so that's some of the stuff that we've been able to do to kind of help inform the way in which we're moving forward with some of our brands.
Thank you for sharing that, Carissa. Carissa, are you taking this to franchise, like corporate locations, franchisees? Like, who's saying yes to innovation? Is it something they're excited to do, or are they nervous?
I think a little bit of both. Across all the brands, we've got many franchise owners, and to them it's their business and an investment on their end. And technology a lot of times is more affordable, but it's not as cheap as some of the other stuff you can do. And so we've got kind of a combination of we'll always test in corporate locations, we'll open it up to franchisees to be part of, and then I also have kind of like a technology committee of both franchise and corporate operators, and they're kind of like the hub of new ideas. These are things we're looking at. They'll be the first ones to test it and try it and kind of give feedback. And so it's kind of a collaborative effort across both us and the franchise owners.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, Nabil, I just want to say you're missing one part of the slide. And that's a slide that says 100% of operators prefer kiosks to customers ordering in person. And I say that, and I say that because when we put self-ordering kiosks in back in the day, your order inaccuracy, right? Mistaken orders drop so significantly because the consumer is now taking charge of the order. So you're not, the server's not doing it wrong, or the person's not punching it in right at the machine. You're actually getting order accuracy. Speed of service goes up, labor goes down, and check average goes up. So I think that's an important stat here for people who are considering using self-ordering kiosks, how much it positively impacts your business.
Yeah, and they never call in sick, I hear. So fun fact.
No, they don't.
That they don't. Let's do it.
Or ask for a raise.
Or ask for a raise, yes. Until we give them artificial intelligence and feelings, which is happening very shortly. On the next slide, I wanted to talk about a couple of trends that we think it seems like now more than ever with rising labor cost and just rising cost in general, restaurants are looking to innovate. They're being more receptive than ever before. They were forced to do it once during COVID. Now they're being forced to do it again as the margins are something they're trying to fight. I put down here for ghost kitchens, Geoff, to which during a dry run you said, I don't think that's right. Would love for us to have the conversation here openly because you made some incredible points and you convinced us. And I think ghost kitchen have the wrong rep and a bad rep, if you will, and would love to hear from you on why that's an up arrow.
Yeah, and thank you. And before I say that, just to go back to one thing you said, you're saying that that all this this technology is happening, and the way that we're all pivoting and innovating has really happened twice because of the pandemic, and just before that, cost of goods. We have always been innovating. Restaurateurs are entrepreneurs, and we are always trying to find the next thing. Just some of us move faster than others. Yeah. But what happened was when you first showed me this slide, your team showed it to me. Ghost Kitchen had a down arrow. And I said, I completely disagree with that. To me, I'm incredibly encouraged about ghost kitchens. And in the press, ghost kitchens, virtual restaurants, whatever word terminology you want to use, is being beaten up, right? That it's inconsistent food, it's not safe, and all these negative words. The issue I take with that is the press never gives the positive story, how it's a new revenue stream for restaurants, how you're giving entrepreneurs a way to test new cuisine. Right? You're keeping people employed, paying rent. There's all this benefit to it. And what I say is we only started talking about the ghost kitchen space really on a universal platform 24 to 36 months ago. You and I met each other in, I think it was June of 21 at the first Ghost Kitchen conference. I mean, I've only known you for 2 years. That's how early and young we are in the ghost kitchen space, and people are trying to write it off. And that's crazy to me. Every business, you look at Apple, for crying out loud, the richest company in the world, basically went bankrupt and almost closed at one point.
Yeah.
They had to evolve, they had to innovate. And what's going on in this space now, you look at the early adopters, you look at Reef Kitchens and the learnings that came out of Reef and the technology they've created to change their business. You look at Kroger and with Kitchen United and how they changed the dining habits when you go into a grocery store, and that's evolving. So yeah, there's going to be some that aren't going to make it. You look at what's going on with Mr. Beast and all the negative press that the food's not consistent. Nobody talks about the 1,200, 1,700 plus part of my cheesesteak that they did. And it just came out that they just launched a TikTok concept. So there's constant opportunity here for this space. And I personally am so passionate and excited about the next 36 months. Because of the learnings we're having and the opportunities we're having. We have a group who reached out to us as of November, December, a 350 restaurant group who wants to go live with our program. They're doing that, so they obviously believe in it, and others are coming in. So there's a lot more positive than I think there's negative. The press just isn't sharing that part of the story.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, it's just like a guest that leaves a review, right? You're always going to run out to complain about something, but you don't see a lot of the positive reviews. And, we have ghost kitchens in our brick and mortar restaurants. And I think it's just gotten smarter, to Jeff's point, it's evolving and we're being smarter about it. We're not just trying to throw 10 of them in to see what sticks and what doesn't stick. We're, making the right fit for the various restaurants that are, servicing the communities with the various brands.
And I love that analogy you give about the consumers leaving a review, because the right operator is going to read that review and learn from it, right? The wrong operators is going to be like, oh, I don't care what this person said. They don't know what they're talking about. But if you listen and you improve your business based on that feedback, and that's what I believe is happening in the space. We are learning from the early adopters and allowing the business to get better and better. For the experience for both operators and for the consumer is only going to grow. And by the way, Uber, DoorDash, these are very wealthy companies. I mean, delivery is not going anywhere. We have a lot of runway here.
Yeah. So two takeaway from me. One is, if I ever get canceled, I'm going to have Geoff defend me out there, because I think he defended Ghost Kitchen better than anyone else ever will. So that's the first thing. Marketing team, please take note. And then number two is, I think there's a beauty in being a first mover, right? You get to go ahead and set precedent. And also you pay the price. And as a second mover, all we all can do is learn and continue to go ahead and, move the ball forward. Even at Lunchbox, the company we think is incredible is Olo, and we're trying to be a second mover to them. And because of what they have built, we get to avoid some of the things, right? That some of the mistakes they've made by being a first mover 20 years ago, starting this space. So I think that's true for Ghost Kitchen. That's true for any form of innovation. So Geoff, very well said. And Carissa, thank you for adding to that.
Thank you. And along with that too, you might be following in Olo's footsteps and learning from the mistakes, but the stuff you're bringing to light, don't think Olo's not learning from you. So it goes 100%. Both ways. And I think that that's a very important factor that you and your team should embrace, that you are also pioneering. You're also making things better, just as we are trying to do in the space. We learn from other people's mistakes. We try to contribute in a positive aspect.
Love that. Nick, question for you about 2023, sir. What was the biggest request you received from enterprise restaurants in terms of your technology? What were they looking for more than anything else in 2023 from you?
Yeah, we've long been known as the leading geofencing platform. So I think geofencing is a powerful tool for personalization. I think it's a powerful tool for arrival detection, whether that's curbside pickup or drive-through. So I have some thoughts on some of the items on this slide. Honestly, what we saw in 2023 was tightening budgets and just sort of a general focus on efficiency. So we had a lot of our existing customers saying, hey, Radar, we're using you all for geofencing. We're using Google Maps platform or Mapbox for maps. Could we consolidate all of that onto a single platform? We've already imported all of our restaurants into Radar. Could you just power our store locator, et cetera? So we launched Radar Maps platform as a complement to our geofencing platform. For net new customers, oftentimes they're spending a lot of money on things like a store locator or address autocomplete, during a delivery checkout flow. There's potentially an opportunity to cut costs and then reinvest that in new tools, whether that's geofencing tools or otherwise. So I would say, continued investment in location, focus on efficiency, whether that was cost cutting or vendor consolidation, or even just using location tech for arrival detection, shorter wait times, operational efficiency, et cetera.
So basically, as Carissa gets close to the restaurant for her pickup, the restaurant knows that she's getting closer. Is that what's happening, Nick?
Yeah, that's right. So, orders might have a scheduled pickup time, but maybe you're running ahead of schedule or you're running behind schedule, or maybe you're going to the wrong restaurant. These are all things that you can detect with location tracking and geofencing. And we really invested there during COVID when the popularity of curbside exploded. We're seeing continued interest, but folks are also thinking more expansively about understanding when you're pulling into the drive-thru and maybe popping up a personalized message at the drive-thru call box, understanding if you're in this part of the parking lot or in the store. So I think order ahead continues to grow in popularity, and location is an important input to seamless pickup experiences, short wait times, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, the two most important things is location and time, and you guys control both of that,
Sure.
And that's what makes a first-party ordering, much as good, if not better than third-party in many ways. So love what you guys are doing. Let's go to the next slide and talk about consolidation in the space, both for brands, right, and also for restaurant technologies, merging, right. So let's stay here for a second. I mean, Carissa, we obviously have to start with you. You guys have purchased 6 new brands. I'm pretty sure you purchased one before this webinar is over. I'm sure there will be an announcement of a new brand you guys have acquired. What are some of the fun parts of, going after these incredible brands? And what are some things that are not so fun. Would love for you to take us behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the fun stuff I think about it is, really being able to kind of what we focus on is acquiring brands that are kind of just starting out in the growth phase. They might have, anywhere between 25 and 50-ish locations, in the segment and, have a lot of opportunity for growth that we can, acquire and then continue to build that portfolio and grow those brands. And so, that's kind of the cool stuff, getting to see what's out there, what, neat stuff they're doing, what innovation, various brands are doing, that we think would fit well into our portfolio. I think I've said it a couple of times in the last year or so, we kind of aspire to be Inspire brands. And, that's a lot of the fun stuff that goes along with it. But then I think specifically in my world, there's a lot of downside too, because, when you acquire, you inherit, whatever technology stack they may have or may not have, in some instances. So figuring out how to ensure that we've got that one source of truth to pull everything together, from our side, we can see everything that we need to see. And, then making it consistent across the brands as we can, but there are some instances where some technologies make sense in some of our brands and not in other. So treating them, consistently where we can, but then branching out where we need to. But it's definitely a lot of hard work, and we're a small shared services organization. So I have an amazing high performing team that, works really hard on that stuff.
Thank you for sharing that. And so you're saying that sometimes you let them keep the tech they have, even if doesn't match HQ?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. But what about data? How are you guys like making sure the data is streamlined, at least in terms of?
Well, and that's where like some of it, if it's technology that has APIs we can plug into or easy ways, to get the data, then, we're not as concerned about switching out, ripping out tech and putting new stuff in. And, with the, I think, advances in technology in our industry in the last several years, many of the vendor partners out there now have the open APIs, are willing to work with one another. And so it's made it a lot easier versus, 7 to 10 years ago, where you basically would have been forced to rip out and replace because that was your only option.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to the next slide. Question for you, Geoff. We talked about how you guys were doing loyalty before it was even called loyalty, NFT before anyone else touched it in restaurant. You're doing these things. You're betting on these cool companies, but what if they go belly up? Like, aren't you nervous about that? Aren't you nervous about betting on all these innovative companies? Like, is no one in there like sweating, like, oh man, Jeff's picked another company we're going to go innovate with?
Well, no, because if they go belly up, I'll just have Carissa bias and she'll figure it out. So that's what keeps me sane at night. No, look, it's a very, very valid point. And what I'll say to that is, back in 2014, our first desktop ordering company, or 2010, I'm sorry, our first desktop ordering company, a year into it, they went bankrupt. And we had pre-Venmo, we had a way to do money. We could send gift card money to your phone and you can just pay with your phone. This was 2010. That company went bankrupt. So we've gone through this. It's not abnormal to have happen. What's important is you have to see a need for your business, and you have to find a provider that you hopefully do your homework on and get references about. But you also have to have a respect for one another. You have to respect the technology and how it's going to affect your employees. You have to respect the technology, how it's going to affect for your consumer. And you got to like the people you're working with. One reason why I'm doing this panel is the relationship that I have with both Unibiel and with Lunchbox. It's a team that's coming together and trying to, the answer, we have a saying in Let Us Entertain You, which is where I've been born and raised here, is the answer is yes, the question is how. And when I find partners like Lunchbox and other partners who we work with, whether it's Flaunt, who's helping us with our NFTs, or Devour, or Patronix, who's been a great partner to us, and they have that kind of attitude, it allows you to move forward. And if you all are working together to jump the hurdle and avoid the pitfalls together, you hopefully will find a way. But it's a very real and scary point that you bring up about things going bankrupt and pushing you backwards.
Yeah. How many times has it happened to you?
It's happened. Well, 2 come to mind right away, but I bet it's happened at least 2 or 3 other times. The other thing is, as a restaurateur, none of the technology that's being built is being made by restaurant people. Mm-hmm. So for you to bring in any of this technology, It's being made by non-restaurant people. And if you want the technology, you have to change your business model to accept the technology. Well, two things happen with that. One is the technology really doesn't know how to be utilized. And secondly is you are changing your business model because you see a value for this. So you really have to make sure it's a good value for the consumer and for your employees. If it's only a good value for one of them, you're going to have headaches like there's no tomorrow. And as someone who's suffered a lot of headaches, it's an issue. The last point I'll make is, as an early adopter to technology and having done a lot of this in our early days, when new people come to the space, they actually come to us and say, will you either give us feedback or will you work with us? Will you partner? Can we do this? And we're very particular now today, more than we ever have been, about who we partner with because of our scale. In our early days, we were saying yes to everybody because we just wanted to be, the best and at the forefront of technology. So we would take on everything and deal with the headaches. Now we're a lot more protective in trying to avoid those headaches.
Got it. Question for the entire group, maybe Carissa first. What, like enterprise companies that have a lot of locations that are nervous to make innovative moves, what kind of questions should they ask a startup to their due diligence that will make them feel like a little bit safer? Any best questions or anything you guys are asking out there, like Geoff or Carissa? Are you asking about funding history, anything at all?
I guess I'll go first. That is part of it, yeah. But really, at the end of the day, I don't care if you're a startup vendor that's only been in existence for 2 months or you've been around for 20 years. It's about the product that you have, the way that you'll continue the roadmap of your product and innovation, and the service that we're going to get, right? Like I said, we're a small shared services organization, and so we rely on our vendor partners to be able to support us and the brands. And so we're very particular in who we choose, and that relationship, I'd say, is a really big piece of it. And I think, in the last probably several years, that I've seen as we're, talking to different vendors and vetting things out, I like to plan ahead. I'm always 18 to 24 months out there. And so the folks that are willing to share with me their roadmap and, give me the nitty gritty and the downright, this is what we're doing, this is what we're going to work on. Of course, things are going to change and what have you, and respect and value, any contribution or opinions that, we have to help, make them better, I think is a big piece for us.
I love that. Geoff, did you want to add anything?
Sorry, I was just going to say that when you get involved with startups or early technology, you help write the narrative, right? You give feedback that makes them better, right? Because that's why they're trying to pilot with you, so they can learn to make them worth more and be more valuable and get the recommendation. And if you have the chance to write the narrative or help them, learn from one another to make the technology better, it's only going to fit your restaurant and your organization and your business better. One reason why we got involved in the NFT platform a year ago or a year plus ago is it's so early in the Web3 stage right now that NFTs, was the golden child, then it became real taboo words. And now more people are getting back into both NFTs, Web3, and the metaverse. And as an early adopter of that, we can help, describe the narrative, build the narrative, change the way people are viewing it. And also we can adapt a lot earlier. Right? As opposed to someone coming in later and they have to play by those rules, we can sort of write our rules for those spaces. So there's a big benefit about getting in early. You just have to your point earlier, be prepared for that what if. And that's why, if you're smart, you hire someone like Carissa on your team so they can carry the burden of the headache, but also someone who's thinking 24 months in the future. I'm not thinking that far in the future whatsoever.
Got it. I really appreciate it, Geoff. I think that's super. Same thing. Again, it goes back to what's happening with ghost kitchens as well. You iterate and you move and you evolve, and V2 is going to be better than V1. Nick, question for you about tech companies. I think you and I can connect on this one. Actually, all of us can. But fundraising environment has been very different for the last 24 months for tech companies, and that's leading to a lot of M&As for tech companies to come together. How are you looking at the fundraising climate and tech M&As? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, it's a great question, and definitely happy to speak to the sort of the other side of the table perspective that Carissa and Geoff shared. I think the fundraising environment was pretty frothy 2 or 3 years ago. It was easy to raise venture capital. VCs were prioritizing growth at all costs over efficient growth. And I think things have shifted quite a bit. I think if you're, a brand and you're making an investment in technology that you expect to, support you for 3 to 5 years, I think you do want to do your diligence and understand what is this company's, cash position. Will they be around 3 to 5 years from now? We were very fortunate to raise a $55 million round at the end of 2021. So we're close to profitability. We're going to be around for many years to come. I also think that, for portfolios of brands, flexibility and product vision is really important. We're actually talking to a pretty big portfolio of brands right now that spends over $1 million a year on Google Maps across all of their brands. They have kind of a couple different location and geofencing vendors, and they're looking to potentially consolidate all of that onto Radar as sort of the long-term choice, the cost-effective choice. And we also, I sort of love the idea of being, not just a vendor, but a partner. And we are very customer-driven when it comes to our product roadmap, love getting on site, and take our customers and prospects' needs into account. So yeah, I would say it's a challenging fundraising environment. I think VCs are rewarding companies that are growing efficiently, that are profitable. And I do think it's important for restaurant brands to really vet the technologies they're choosing to make sure they're going to be around in 3 to 5 years and they can support their use cases today and also in the future.
Let me ask, you mind if I ask Nick a question?
Go ahead, Jeff.
So Nick, you said you have a large company that's spending $1 million on Google Maps, right? I don't have $1 million to spend. So let's just say I have, a small brand and I have 50 to 100K to spend. What would you think is the right place to spend on technology to grow sales and get my brand recognized? Where would you put the money?
Good question.
Yeah. I think it's a great question. Even if it's not $1 million of cost savings on Google Maps, we have found that a lot of even smaller brands might be spending 50 to 100K per year on their store locator, and that's cash that's tied up that could be deployed towards a CDP or an analytics platform or a geofencing platform. I sort of think about the different location use cases on a maturity curve. Most restaurant apps and websites have a store locator. Might as well run that as efficiently as possible to help you innovate elsewhere. I think a lot of people still think about geofencing as, hey, I'm near a Starbucks, send me a push notification with a coupon. But I think there's so much more you can do. Understanding when somebody opens the app, if they're on premise versus sitting at home on their couch, they have an active order, show them the right thing, right? Are you showing them a store locator? Are you showing them how to pick up their order they've placed? Are you helping them skip the kiosk if they haven't placed an order and they're on premise, et cetera? And then I think, the most sophisticated is real-time location information for order ahead and using that to, sequence orders, fire orders, et cetera. So honestly, for 50 to 100K, with Radar, you can unlock all of those use cases, whereas other folks might only be powering your store locator or only powering, an arrival detection use case for that investment. So we try to help our customers unlock as much value as they can, because budgets are tight and efficiency is important.
Great answer. Thank you.
Jeff, you want to moderate the rest as well? Trying to,
Yeah, Jeff, take over. No,
you're doing great. You don't need me.
Why are you coming from my job?
Next slide, please.
I have one job, seriously. And also, by the way, we're switching to our map technology, switching to Radar as well. So a a prideful plug for Nick. On the next slide, let's talk a little bit about, the international market. I have one question for you, Jeff, here. Hot vending machine, very acceptable in Asia, not so normal here in the US. You guys are doing it. I saw you guys at a conference. I had your bows. It was hot. It was delicious. It was awesome. It came out in like 60 seconds. I think I have a video of it as well. Why is that not so much more receptive here in the US?
So first off, it came out in 32 seconds. If it came out in 60, we
Sorry, I apologize.
It's all right. So make that videos on fast forward there. No, we started doing hot food vending machines just about a year ago. We have about 450 of them deployed across the country right now. Higher education, manufacturing plants, airports, hotels, and so on. We actually partner with someone. It's their machines. We put the food in. And if you go to Asia, they have ramen machines and, machines that have live crabs. I mean, they're everywhere doing everything. And I should say to that, I have not personally been to Asia. I'm getting it all on the internet. So don't believe everything you read, but believe that. What I think happens here in the United States is the view of a vending machine is a Snickers bar or a bag of chips that might be 6 years old, and a bottle of Coca-Cola, God knows how long it is. And that's how we see vending machines. But about a decade ago, give or take, Sprinkles came out with their cupcake ATM, and they were doing fresh cupcakes out of it. And then you fast forward to the last 5 years and Farmer's Fridge doing fresh salads out of it. And both are refrigerated, but people started identifying that you can get food that is not old in a vending machine. And now hot food is just a natural occurrence of that next wave. And we are thrilled to be in that kind of an environment, allowing people to get our product 24/7, 365, as good as it's coming out of the restaurants. I mean, we spent almost a decade trying to find the right partner to work with for hot food vending machines. And going back to your last question that you asked me about, technology going bankrupt, we found a hot food vending machine about 8 years ago, and we got pretty far down the line with them. And then one day they stopped calling us, and it turned out they lost their funding and they couldn't go. So we waited another 8 years until we found this partner, and we're thrilled with how it's going. And I think that the opportunity for hot food vending is the easy access, the easy acceptance for full-on robotics that are coming very quickly.
Yeah. Carissa, you guys have some robots. Tell us about Pizza Jukebox and the evolution there as well.
Yeah, so Pizza Jukebox was a brand that we actually built ourselves, and we launched in June of last year. And it's utilizing collaborative robots. And so what that is, it's a robot that's designed to work in conjunction with humans in an environment. So our robot, Luigi, who's in our first location, he does all the mundane stuff, right? Takes the pizza out, puts it in, puts all the toppings on, puts it in the oven. The same repetitive stuff that you have to do over and over all day. And he actually is powered by both a point of sale that a human runs, or we have kiosks available so the guest can choose either. And so it allows the team members to spend time building the relationships with the customers. It's a unique experience. He'll do little dances, and he does the robot when, he's not busy making pizza. But it's an experience as well as an efficiency. It takes the mundane tasks out of, humans. And they get to spend time with the customers. The customers get to see the robot in action and that experience. And, unlike robotics 5 years ago that were ridiculously expensive, it's now in a realm where even a small business owner has the option and the affordability to bring that technology in. I mean, I think one of the stats from the pandemic that obviously shook the restaurant industry pretty heavily was that we lost 1 million workers, and we're probably not ever going to get them back. So doing things like the robots or the hot food vending machines, that's the innovation that's going to continue to keep restaurants, moving forward.
Yeah, I love that, and I love that we can not only learn from the Asian market, but also we can learn from each other, right? Like we can, looking at what you guys are doing, I'm sure the other portfolio companies you guys have, Carissa, can emulate some of that and bring some of that. And also these robots, like the kiosks, don't call in sick, which is Jeff's number one problem. Jeff, I'm just, I'm just making.
It's the raises. We save money on the raises.
Sorry.
Number two.
Jeff's number one problem is he's concerned with raises, asking for raises. I'm concerned about sick days. We'll figure out what Carissa and Nick are looking for.
By the way,
yeah, go ahead.
This is a robot you're talking to.
Listen,
because the real Jeff called in sick.
Yes, because he didn't get a raise.
Jeff, when was the last time you had a title change? I feel like you've not had any movement in the ladder. Like, when was the last time you got a title change in your company? I feel like CEOs need to complain about this a little bit.
Where am I supposed to go to from here? Are you saying
we go to each other? We'll go to each other. All right, on the next slide, let's talk about what it seems like, it was all the rage in 2023, right? Drive-Thru. Can we start with you, Nick, first? Tell us about a restaurant that is using your tech and making drive-thru better versus versus a restaurant that's just using regular drive-thru. Can we get a difference between one with geofencing and one without geofencing from your point of view?
Yeah, we've had a number of our customers that use location-based arrival detection for order ahead. I think they think about drive-thru as one of many channels, and we saw an explosion of interest in curbside initially, and I think now with labor shortages, folks are thinking about in-store pickup or drive-through. So we're actually going to be announcing a couple of customers going live with some cool experiences pretty soon related to understanding when you're pulling up to the drive-through call box, popping up sort of a welcome message. And folks are looking to do that without deploying things like beacons, and they're looking to do it as part of the same platform that's also powering their store locator and other location use cases. So there's some cool QSR case studies on our customers page. I think we just published one with Whataburger where there's an order ahead angle. On the AI point, I think location is a really valuable input to AI and automation, like understanding where customers are, what's their ETA, where are they on premise will help you, prepare and sequence orders as efficiently as possible. We're also thinking about how we can incorporate Radar, or how we can incorporate AI into Radar's platform. Even just understanding when somebody's in a drive-through potentially requires you to set up a geofence around the drive-through versus other areas of the parking lot versus the store footprint. And because we have the maps, we're thinking about, could we use AI to automatically draw geofences and sort of carve up your property? So lots of potentially interesting applications for AI and in the geofence management process as well.
If Geoff is a second-time user, let's say he's a second-time user, he's coming back, will your drive-through geolocation tech know that he's coming back and this is not a new customer?
Yeah, we would certainly have historical location data, but I think the best way to solve that would be through some of our integrations with CDPs or analytics platforms. We have integrations with Braze or mParticle, and we could help you join location data with past order history. Maybe that factors into personalization, recommendations, et cetera. So yeah, we could definitely understand historical location data in the context of Radar, but I think when you can join it with data in other systems in a really seamless way, that's super powerful too.
Love it. Awesome. Let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about something else that I think dominated at least the food tech news cycle in 2023, catering. We at Lunchbox, 40% of our new customers were all catering customers. It's where we have seen a huge growth. I think what operators are trying to do is they're trying to find efficiency in every square footage within their restaurant, whether that's the kiosk and drive-through area, whether that's the dining room or the living room of the guest. And I think then, we want to see as operators what we can do to go ahead and find more revenue in the corporate offices. So catering has been a huge push in 23 from our customers, to the point where we hired the founder of Monkey Media as our chief strategy officer. So we saw some incredible demand there. Carissa, how are you looking at catering? How are you investing between or leaning into marketplaces versus investing in your direct channel for some of your brands?
So for us, catering is something in the last year that we really kind of explored across the various different brands to see where we could fit in and what we could garner from that. Obviously, Friendly's is our full service, full menu. So that was a lot easier to craft and, kind of have that program out there and get out locally and talk to the various businesses and, build that business. But then some of the other brands, your frozen yogurt, things like that, it's a little more difficult. And so we've kind of looked at catering there as more of a special event type thing, right? So not just catering to the office, but we're going out and, doing a birthday party or the Indianapolis 500 or, various things like that where, we can secure some stuff, that's on the catering scale, but a little bit different than, the office lunch.
Yeah. Thank you. Geoff, when people think about catering, dark kitchen is not what comes to mind first. Can you tell us why that's incorrect? Like that notion is not accurate?
Yeah, well, let's just back up for 1 second. I think you're given unbelievable data and information through your slide deck here and what the panelists are sharing. And for the operators out there listening, you can't do everything tomorrow. And I think you have to do what's right for your business and make that right choice and then really put into it. Catering is an unbelievable way for you to make additional revenue out of your restaurant at no additional cost. but it's a business and you have to treat it as a business. And we've been doing catering as Wow Bao as a brand since our inception 20 plus years ago. When we started doing the dark kitchen program back in 2020, as we all know, the world was different and offices were closed and catering pretty much became non-existent, especially you couldn't be social, right? It wasn't allowed in most of the states. Now, as businesses are going back to the office, gatherings are happening again, catering is picked up. And we've partnered with two different companies across the country. One is called Fuda and the other one is Easy Cater. And we identify different partners of ours around the country who do an exceptional job and those who we know are looking for additional revenue. Now, I say that tongue in cheek because everybody wants additional revenue, but you need to be able to have the storage for product. You need to make sure that you're making the food appropriately, right? You have enough packaging and so on. So we're selective who we work with. And then what we do is we partner and we teach these operators how to do Wow Bao catering. And we are seeing anywhere on certain days before 11:30 in the morning, before the restaurant really opens for lunchtime, we have some dark kitchen operators doing it anywhere from $2,000 to $7,000 in a single serve of a catering order. And that is just free money for these operators.
Yeah. Hey, Geoff, I think one of the things people don't realize is like you guys are lucky enough where everyone is in your Chicago office and everyone's in office, but companies like ours, the number one way we can get people to come back to office because we're completely remote or very remote is food. That's still a great way for all the humans of our company to sit together and use that as an incentive for everyone to show up and build some camaraderie. And we've seen that again and again in terms of the companies we're working with.
Well, what I say to everyone is food is essential, right? And not just for your sustaining your life, but we commiserate around food, right? We celebrate around food. Food is always part of what we're doing. We bring in an office lunch every Wednesday for the office here. We do a Wow Bao Wednesday. We bring in Wow Bao into the office for everybody. And then usually one or two other days during the week, we bring in lunch. And in the early days, so we've been all in office since August of 21. And in those early days, I literally brought in lunch 3, 4, 5 days a week every day to thank people for being here. Eventually that changed and we didn't have to do it as much. But that is what's so great about this opportunity for catering. The business world out there relies on our service to entice their employees to go to work and to be happy. So catering is a way for you to not only grow your revenue, but for you to be associated with happiness. What an unbelievable win for your organization. So that's why catering is so important. And one reason why you've had the growth that you're seeing in these charts right here is partly because of the return to office. And I think it's going to be even bigger this year as more return to office.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Geoff, for sharing your POV there. Hey, let's go to the next slide. And I wanted to share some data because, again, Lunchbox is super, 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 super bullish on catering. We do a lot of things, but if you want to talk about catering, call us. Shameless plug. Nick, I told you to do the plug for me, and I'll do the plug for you. You completely are leaving me here on my own. But we went live with 2 brands recently. One is Takumbi. We've seen their check average go as high up to 640 average now, 50% growth in catering sales. And let's go to the next slide. This brand is super close to my heart. I started as a busboy here at 17. We've seen average month-over-month growth rate by 24%. Those are not numbers you see. You are not going to see that in dining. You'll not see that in delivery. Catering is still a low-hanging fruit for us as an industry. And we really need to go ahead and see if our brand can make an impact there. So if I can convince you of anything, is get some Wow Bao, get some Friendly's ice cream, go check out Nick's website at Radar and Lunchbox for maybe some catering. With that, let's go to the next slide. Let's keep it going. The conversation so far has been incredible. So I wanted to thank our panelists here, and we're almost coming to the end. Let's talk about personalization, right? We're going to go ahead and start with you, Geoff. Geoff, can you tell us this NFT project you're doing with Flaunt? I think it's super cool. Tell us what is it? Tell us about it like we've never heard about it before.
So we decided in 2022, we're trying to move people off of the third-party delivery platforms, the Uber Eats, DoorDash, the Grubhubs, and so on, and have them order from wowbao.com. And the reason for that is, 1, it's a lower commission fee. 2, we get guest information, right? So you can do better target marketing by having guest information. And the way to do that, we found is by turning on a rewards program, not a loyalty, a rewards, because no one's loyal on delivery, but you get rewarded for it. So we launched a program with Paytronics where for every dollar you spent, you got a point, X amount of points gets you X amount of dollars off your order, and so on. A year later in 2023, we launched by partnership with Flaunt to do to enhance that program with using NFTs. And we actually call them digital collectibles, not digital collectibles, and not NFTs because of the connotation. And what happens in that is for $99, you would get a digitally randomized generated collectible that's just personalized for you. You can use an avatar, whatever you want to do with it. And then you get a certain benefits. You get percentage off all your orders, percentage off our merchandise store, double BowBucks points, so you get that rewards that much faster. And then the idea of it is every year you re-up into the program, but not at that 99 because you already got your collectible. It's only a different price. And I'm really excited to say that come April this year, we have a way to enhance this program that's never been done before. We have a big announcement coming out. I can't share it right now, Nabil. I'm sorry, but we
share
found
it right now. Don't be that way. I thought we're friends.
But we found a way to really enhance it and make it that much more enticing and really bring it to the masses. And we're very excited about what we're doing next with it. But to your point, personalization is so important. And we learned that back during COVID, right? We're all locked up in our houses. The only person you were seeing was the delivery driver. So we got into writing notes on all the delivery bags, right? Have a nice day. Thank you for ordering, hang in there, whatever it may be. And that helped us fix our rewards program or discover our rewards program. And that helped us, moving forward with the collectibles. And that's what people want. They want that personalization. And it's so important. It's so important that every person is made to feel special. And when you go to a restaurant, it's easy to do that. Recognize someone's face, recognize their name, recognize their order, recognize their table, recognize. In the delivery space and in the catering space, it's not as easy. And it's a struggle, but it's an important aspect that you can't miss out on.
Yeah. Carissa, while Geoff is pushing forward NFT, you guys in 2022 did something really unique. You killed off your loyalty. You said, we're going to take a step back from it. Would love to hear a little bit about your strategy there.
Yeah, so for us, we were spending a lot of money on the loyalty program and we were not seeing a lot of return or engagement for the efforts that we had across the various brands. And so we said, you know what, instead of throwing our money away, let's cancel it. Let's have, take some time, take a different approach to each of the brands to figure out, what our guests want from us and how we can better, personalization is a big one that, we're looking into to bring it back with a lot of gusto, right? Like we weren't seeing what we needed to. Our guests obviously weren't getting what they wanted out of it. And so we said, all right, let's cancel it. Let's go out there and let's find, figure it out and find something different. And so in the last 12 months, that's what we've been doing, getting out there with brand awareness, figuring out what resonates with our customers across the various brands to help us, kind of craft what we want that new personalized rewards program to look like, as well as, what vendor partner that we can work with to get there. So I would stay on the lookout later this year because we've got some things in the works.
I love that. And it takes courage to say we're not just going to give away cash back for the sake of giving cash back. And we're going to go ahead and really study all our brands and do something more intentional. I love that.
Why aren't you pushing her for her announcement right now?
Because, Carissa and I are it's a new friendship. I'm trying to be delicate. Okay. You and I, we've had 24 months under our belt. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next slide.
Would you like me to push her on it right now?
I'd rather you push her. So this is my favorite slide, and we're coming to the end. I don't know why my face is here because I'm not going to predict anything, but I would love a big prediction from each of you, and we're going to roll the tape back in a year. And if you're not right, we will scrutinize you. I'm kidding, but I would love to hear your big prediction for 2024. Nick, do you wanna kick it off, sir?
Sure. Probably not surprising, but I think geofencing is going to continue to grow in popularity. I think it's still really early days, even though smartphones and location services have been around for 10 years. McDonald's and Chick-fil-A just rolled out geofencing nationwide last year. I think that's going to continue. I think location is a really critical input into personalization. To kind of reference the previous slide, I think a lot of apps understand who are you, but not where are you. And you really should be seeing different things depending on where in the world you are. Are you at home? Are you at a restaurant? Are you in a city traveling, et cetera? And I would say continued investment in geofencing may be funded by Maps cost savings is what we're expecting there.
Love it. Carissa, big prediction for 2024.
All right, big prediction. So obviously AI and more specifically generative AI have been, kind of the buzzword the last 6 to 8 months. I think that especially with the free platforms and open source platforms that are out there, that's going to continue to skyrocket in adoption across the restaurant industry. But this is my big prediction. I think that you will have at least one large brand that's going to get bit by it because of all the public information that's out there in an open platform, and somebody's going to put stuff out there that can be reverse engineered or proprietary information. And so that's what I'm predicting.
Wow. All right.
So we should short some stocks.
Yeah, that's what I heard. All right. We'll ask you offline. It feels like you have some more info you're holding back. Geoff, big prediction for 2024.
I don't know if I really have a big prediction. I think that what the other panelists are saying is 100% true, that AI is going to be a monster of a beast. And the geofence and personalization are what's important. And I'd like to see the two really come together. And the personalization aspect, I think, is really what's important for the industry. For me, what's important for the industry as a whole is pre-pandemic, we were in the hospitality industry. And post-pandemic, we're in the food industry. And I would just like to see us get back to being hospitable. I think that pricing has gotten outrageous. And I don't think that the value that you're getting when you go to dine matches the money people are spending. So I don't have a big prediction about how it's going to change. What I'd really like to see is just that commitment on the industry as a whole about making that connection back with the guests is what our focus is on. And we're trying to do it in many different platforms, from consumer packaged goods through hot food vending machines, dark kitchens and restaurants, which is a battle in all those different ways to do it, but we're committed to it.
I love that. All right. 3 big predictions. I'm going to put a calendar invite, 12 months, and see how accurate you are, all of you. And I think it'll be fun for us to look back. Thank you so much, guys. We're going to take 2-3 questions, and then we're going to wrap it up. This was exciting. We got so many questions. I have 20, 30 plus questions. We're going to try to do 2 to 3 of them. First one for you, Geoff. How did you make the decision to expand into CPG?
So the brand started in 2003, and I took it over in 2009. And when I took it over in 2009, 2 out of our 3 restaurants had freezer cases of our product for people to buy and take home already. And it just sat there. And so I took some of the boxes and started knocking on the local grocery store back door and said, will you carry this product? And 3 different grocery stores took a bite on it, and we got it in 2015. And then we never did anything with it. We basically sat at somewhere between 50 to 100 grocery stores for the next 4 years. And we eventually got it to 350 grocery stores and lived there for the next 5 years. And then in 2023, we decided to make it a focus. And we signed a deal with Walmart. We got into 3,000 Walmarts. We ended 2023 with 5,000 grocery stores, and our goal is to 3X that this year.
Jeez Louise. All right. So you're going to throw more dinner parties is what I'm hearing. Carissa,
the right dinner parties.
The right dinner parties. Carissa, a last question, and for you. And this question is: do you have kiosk in any of your brands, or within any of your brands? And follow-up question, part B, is if you do, how are you answering questions for a first-time guest who might not know the brand?
So yes, we have kiosks. It's an option that any of our brands can actually choose to use. And we actually have some locations in our smaller QSR models where they're going to remove the manned point of sale and put in a kiosk and have it just be kiosk only. So definitely getting some interest and traction there across the various brands and sites. But you don't really need to teach the guests how to use it, right? You can use one of these, you can use a kiosk, and they're all pretty fluent. Even, grandma and grandpa can do it nowadays. And so that allows the employees or the managers or the owners, depending on the location, to be able to just engage with the guests on their level. And, they can take care of the transaction, they can help them if they need to. But that's the beauty of technology, is that it's so easy to use now that literally your smartphone can be a kiosk, or you could just use use it like a smartphone. So, yeah.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Hey, I just want to thank all our panelists. Nick, you bring cutting edge tech to restaurants everywhere from your experience at Foursquare to Microsoft and others, and you're bringing it to restaurants now. We're grateful for you. Carissa, thank you so much for bringing a perspective of not just an enterprise brand, but a holding company for so many different enterprise brands we grew up loving, the Friendlies of the world, Smoothie Factory, and then obviously, Geoff, thank you so much for bringing your experience from Wabao, and also Let Us Entertain You, big fan of theirs. I'm really appreciative of all three of you. I got to get a front seat row and learn from you guys, and I'm sure all our audience members did as well. Super grateful for all three of you. Thank you.
And
Thanks for having us. That was fun.
Yeah,
thank you. I really appreciate you guys. See you guys soon at MarTech or the next conference.
Thanks
Bye,
everyone.
guys. Thank you.
Yeah.